I know. Welcome to Democracy-ish, the most perfectly named show possible. I am Danielle Moodie.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, that was. I was watching you say that on YouTube as you were saying that, Danielle. Just listen, folks. We're trying our best. All right, it's rough. It's rough in these waters.
It's rough in these waters. That's Wajahat Ali in the event. No one knows.
We are now in the tipping point. You know, this is the world's worst I told you so. You know, oftentimes you get a smug type of satisfaction. I have no satisfaction. You know, we have recited the Niemöller poem / warning. You know, the Lutheran pastor during World War II. First they came for, then they came for, and then they came for, and there was no one left for me. Folks, we've been saying on the show for 2 years that Donald Trump is authoritarian, fascist, wannabe dictator for life. That MAGA is now a radicalized, pro-authoritarian movement. That he will not leave in 2020. Both Danielle and I warned before we were doing the show that he will stay for a third term. People said, "You're so silly." No, he won't. Well, we're going to talk about it because now they're selling hats, folks, and that they're going to go after anyone and anything, including institutions that stand in their way. Now, when they went after undocumented, let's be honest, Danielle, a lot of Americans are like, meh, undocumented. They come to this country, they're a waste. When they went after the trans, they're like, meh, trans people, they're weird. They're icky. I don't like them. When they went after LGB specifically, gays, a little too much. Easy with the rainbow flags. When they went after Muslims, we still remember 9/11. You guys are weird with your hijab and your halal meat, and you might be a little bit scary. When they went after pro-Palestinian students and activists, well, we don't know. Maybe there's some ties to Hamas. We don't know. I mean, let's just see. Let them just straight up kidnap legal immigrants who are here and post an op-ed. When they took away legal El Salvadoran immigrants and sent them to a foreign gulag, let's see. And now, Danielle, as of today, less than 100 days into this administration, they are straight up arresting white women, citizens who are judges. Danielle, tell them the breaking news.
So, you know, and I see some folks in the chat have seen this. This is breaking news as of 45 minutes ago. Wisconsin judge arrested, accused of shielding immigrant from federal agents. Judge Hannah Dugan was arrested on suspicion that she, quote, intentionally misdirected federal agents away from an immigrant being pursued by the authorities. The FBI director said in a social media post he has now deleted, but we will have that post for you in a moment. The Bureau, the FBI, arrested Judge Hannah Dugan on suspicion that she intentionally misdirected federal agents away from an immigrant being pursued by federal authorities. Brady McCarran, a spokesman for the U.S. Marshals, confirmed that the judge had been arrested by FBI agents on Friday morning. The charging document against the judge was not immediately available in court records. So here is what is happening in Milwaukee and why this is problematic, which is that basically a 30-year-old Mexican national was headed to court. He was going to be seen in front of Dugan, who oversees misdemeanors. On that day, which was, I think, April 19th, she had about 25 cases that were on her docket. He was the case at 8 a.m. That morning, ICE officials came into the courthouse with a warrant, identified who they were to security. They were told to go to, I think, the 6th floor, wherever her courtroom was. And what they are alleging is that this is what they are alleging, that they had a warrant. They identified who they were. They were told, ICE agents, they were told to wait until she was finished with the case. What they are alleging is that then the Judge Dugan, told the attorney and the Mexican national that they should take a side stair and directed them to a side stairs so that they and a private elevator so that they would not be caught by ICE. That Mexican national was caught on foot. I guess they tried to run away. So he had been under investigation since that hearing that she had with this 30-year-old Mexican man for misdemeanor charges. And they were investigating her for obstruction. And then today she was arrested. Now, Milwaukee, what is up here? The Milwaukee case involves a frequent flashpoint in that city when immigration agents try to arrest undocumented immigrants who are appearing in state court. Local authorities that often chafe at such efforts, arguing they endanger public safety if people dealing with relatively minor legal issues feel it is unsafe to enter courthouses. And now what Kash Patel, and you can take this over, Waj, what Kash Patel had stated in this now deleted post that is everywhere, is that she was being investigated for obstruction. He directed his officials to arrest her. She's being arraigned in the court building in which she presides in.
This is Trump's statement as of 40 minutes ago. I expect the legal profession to understand that the nation is not here for them, but they're here for the nation. From now on, I shall intervene in these cases and remove from office those judges who evidently do not understand the demand of the hour. That is not. Oh no, actually, that's. Oh man, Chris Mowry. He led that tweet. I thought that was Trump's statement. Chris Mowry said, "I lied. That was Hitler in 1942." But the fact that you liked the statement is pretty damning.
Okay.
he got me in real time. So that's not a Trump statement. That was Chris Mowry literally quoting Hitler. I'm like, oh, Hitler. Trump came out with the statement 42 minutes ago. That was Hitler. But the sad part is that I read that statement. So many people liked it. And Chris Mowry got me in real time and got everyone else in real time because it sounds like something Trump would say. Folks, people say, why do you mention Hitler? Why do you mention fascism? Why do you mention imperialism? Why do you mention Mussolini? Why do you use the F word, fascist? Why do you use the A word, authoritarianism? Because of this. They went after a judge who was still under investigation and decided to arrest her for being complicit in what they say is aiding and abetting, right? The terrorists who are invading our country. What they're saying is it is a war. And because it is a war, we get to invoke the Alien Enemies Act of 1798, which has only been invoked 3 times before. When? World War I, 1812, World War II. In World War II, it was used to intern innocent American citizens of Japanese descent. So they have decided that in the year 2025, folks, Danielle, what war are we in right now? Can you please tell me?
I mean, I personally am in a war against Donald Trump, but I don't know what declared war we're actually in. I don't think there's a declared war.
We're no declared war.
There's no declared war.
But it's important to think of their mindset. They see this. Stephen Miller, Steve Bannon, MAGA, the white nationalist racists. You have to use the correct terms. They believe we are at a war for the soul of American identity, civic identity, whenever Steve Bannon and Stephen Miller say that. And who is the enemy? The woke, the DEI, diversity, equity, inclusion, right? What does that mean? People of color, the blacks, LGBTQ, undocumented immigrants, even legal immigrants. The book that Steve Bannon and Stephen Miller promote openly. When people say, what are your book recommendations? This is the book they recommend. The Camp of the Saints. We've talked about it briefly on the show before. Camp of the Saints is a fictional book written by a French white nationalist, along with Turner Diaries. Oh, you know, that fictional text that inspired Timothy McVeigh, who bombed the federal building in Oklahoma City. Yeah. Along with that book, that is seen as the preeminent text for white nationalists. The book, Camp of the Saints, a fictional book, warns of how a brown foreign horde led by a charismatic leader ends up overrunning France. That is the book that they promote. So they literally believe that me and Danielle, people of color, legal immigrants, it's not just undocumented immigrants, folks. They want to reverse birthright citizenship, right? They want to denaturalize citizens.
Yep.
Yeah, they're arresting people on thought crimes. Mohsen Madawi, who was a pro-Palestinian model, activist, spoke against anti-Semitism, worked with groups. He went just 2 weeks ago. You all remember? He went to the courthouse. Why? To become a citizen. Remember that, Danielle?
Yep.
He's like, after being here for 10 years legally, I'm going to go become a citizen. And then they arrested him. If you are not safe in a judicial courthouse, if you are not safe walking the streets like Rumeza Ozturk, who was kidnapped by masked ICE folks, if you are not safe in schools, remember in LA 2 weeks ago, Danielle, they went after kids and then the principal said no. And remember how they lied? These ICE agents lied and said, no, we have the parents consent. And they called the parents and said, no, you don't. They lied to try to, God forbid, straight up kidnap kids. And thankfully, you had certain adults and authorities in place who said, no, this judge is one of those individuals. And you know what this administration said? Oh, you're going to stand in our way, judge? We have all the power. We'll show you. We're going to arrest you too. This is what they did in Hungary. They went after the judiciary, the media. Now it's an authoritarian system with one-party rule. This is what they did in Italy, Mussolini. This is what they did in Nazi Germany. This is what they did in Iran with Savak, right? This is the Stasi, the state police that just scoops up anyone who's deemed an enemy. And folks, me and Danielle, we ain't white women and we ain't judges. All right. So pardon me for my little rant there, but I just wanted to kind of lay the groundwork of why this is the tipping point, why this is the end game. And when we use these words that we have used for the past couple of years, unapologetically, F word, me and Danielle have used it to fascism, A word, authoritarianism. The water is warm here, folks. You can now jump in because they just went after a judge and they arrested her.
And here's the thing, so this is, again, I wanted to post it again because it's been deleted, but this is Kash Patel, FBI director. This is his post. Just now, the FBI arrested Judge Hannah Dugan out of Milwaukee, Wisconsin on charges of obstruction after evidence of Judge Dugan obstructing an immigration arrest operation last week. We believe Judge Dugan intentionally misdirected federal agents away from the subject to be arrested in her courthouse. Eduardo Flores Ruiz, allowing the subject, an illegal, to evade arrest. Thankfully, our agents chased down the perp on foot, and he's been in custody since. So, I think that it's important here, folks, to post that because, again, this is what they have wanted. This is what 77 million Americans gave Donald Trump power to do. And why is this the tipping point? For all of the reasons that Waj laid out. And the fact is, the first they came for, right, is everyone that people are like, well, they're on the fringes of society. Well, I don't know a trans person. Well, I don't have any immigrants in my family. Well, I'm a citizen or I'm naturalized. I came in the right way. ... None of this will affect me. When you are arresting judges for doing their job,
that's right.
When you are going to now say, oh, we have evidence, and are we trusting the Patel's FBI to tell us the evidence that it is that they have against this judge, right? To arrest her in her own courtroom? No, I know that I'm not taking anything that this administration says. And so here's my question, Waj, which is that I wonder if the judges that have been tiptoeing around Donald Trump's criminality for the last 9 years, that have given so much fucking deference to this man, to crime in broad daylight. Oh, let me give you another warning. Oh, let me give you another warning. Oh, let me give you a slap on the wrist. I wonder now if we are going to see either judges stand up for the rule of law and stand up for their colleague, whether they know her or they don't, knowing that if they are going to follow the rule of law, they too can be arrested, or if they're going to fall by the wayside the way that 5 more law firms have done in order to give Donald Trump whatever it is that he needs.
I already tweeted right before the show started, I can't wait for Alito and Thomas to throw Judge Duggan under the bus. Look, I think it's going to be a repeat of what we've seen. There'll be some courage, and there'll be a lot of people who stay on the sidelines, and then there'll be some people who are willing supplicants who bend the knee. I would hope a judge, especially who is a licensed attorney and knows the law and is given such a powerful role to adjudicate cases, right? To be one of the last, if you will, guardrails, right, for accountability. We'll say, okay, they're coming after us, and if we bend the knee, then they're going to come after everybody, right? Because if you can go after a white woman who's a judge in Wisconsin, look at me and Danielle, right? Like, so I would hope that this is a moment where it's Avengers assemble for judges and for lawyers and for law firms. But like you said, Danielle, I'm glad you mentioned it. Of the top 100 law firms, the overwhelming majority of them, except a handful, bent the knee. Many of them now have made deals with Donald Trump and have given him nearly, or promised him, $1 billion of free pro bono work. That is what is happening. You see corporate media bending the knee. One of the 3 producers of 60 Minutes, 60 Minutes has been around, folks, for 57 years. It's only had 3 producers, right? Bill Owens. It's like an institution. Why did he step down? He stepped down this week. He allegedly sacrificed himself, that's what people are saying, to send a message to CBS not to cave. Because Donald Trump is suing 60 Minutes for $10 billion, a bullshit case, because they didn't like the way they edited a Kamala Harris interview, CBS is now bending the knee, and Bill Owens of 60 Minutes said, I cannot run the ship with this type of editorial interference. I need my independence. So he resigned. If 60 Minutes, folks, is bending the knee, that's the realm of journalism. If law firms are bending the knee, this is the tipping point, right? Like, we've seen elected officials bend the knee. We've seen pretty much corporations bend the knee. Now they're going after judges. And so I'm hoping, Danielle, I don't know. We saw Amy Barrett, a little bit on the fence. You saw that 7-2 ruling where they smacked down the, Donald Trump invoking the Alien Enemies Act. I believe that Alito and Thomas are all in. They want authoritarian rule. They want the rapture. I want to be optimistic and say this is the tipping point. Seeing America over the past 10 years, I think is going to be more of the same, where you're going to have some people resist, some people bend the knee, and a lot of cowards. What do you think?
I mean, look, if folks don't think that that is the tipping point, right, then I give you this. Donald Trump this week, right, is selling Trump 2028 hats for $50. And he says he's not joking about a possible third term. Waj, who's been saying that when Donald Trump, if Donald Trump was to be elected, that he would not be leaving office? Yeah. So now, in a phone interview, he insisted that he was not joking. Quote, a lot of people want me to do it. I basically tell them we have a long way to go. It's very early in the administration. Here's how long of a way you have to go. You have to go to a constitutional convention. You have to go to, I don't know, what is it, 2/3 of Congress? I have no idea where you need to go, but what you need to do is go back to, I guess, the writing of the Constitution and change it, because the 22nd Amendment, which was added to the Constitution in 1951 following FDR's historic 4 terms in office, states that a president cannot be elected to more than 2 terms. And you have Steve Bannon right now, Waj, who is saying that, there are methods that can be used in order to make this happen. What are those methods aside from, I don't know, declaring martial law and just making yourself king forever, or deciding that we no longer have elections, or just what are some of the methods
So
that
3
would
weeks
allow him?
ago, it was about 2.5 weeks ago when Donald Trump's failed no good horrible trade war was tanking the stock market. He decided to just openly tell you what his methods were. Donald Trump says this is how he's going to be president for a third time. JD Vance is going to run in 2028. JD Vance is going to win. JD Vance is going to choose Donald Trump as his vice president. Once JD Vance wins, he's going to step down and just say, hey, Donald, come back and take your throne. So that is Donald Trump openly telling you their plan about how he will be president essentially for his entire life. However, my fear is, and again, it's my fear, and I hope I'm wrong. My fear is that they realize with their sinking poll numbers that they ain't going to win. And they realize that there's a resistance that is brewing. And they realize that, God forbid, if they do that, there'll be violence. So there'll be protests. So what they're going to do, this is my fear, I hope it doesn't happen, is once these protests really start, as the economy really hits the shitter, folks, and unfortunately it seems like it is, and as people lose their health care, and as measles spread, and as more people start disappearing, and as there's a growing resistance, especially from, wait for it, white people, especially people in Rust Belt and red states, right? He's going to use that opportunity to what? Invoke martial law. As he said right before he was elected, I will unleash the National Guard and military against, quote, the enemy from within. He again quoted Hitler. So I believe that's what he will do. He will say, look, 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 there's the deep state. The deep state is being funded by Canada and Greenland, and they're trying to overthrow America. And it's up to me as the president of the United States to exercise my powers to quell this insurrection. And as such, I'm declaring martial law, and I will be suspending elections only temporarily. Trust me, only temporarily. And that's one way how he will stay in power. Now, people say, Waj, you sound crazy. Then I tell you, this is the same man who incited a violent insurrection to overthrow a free or fair election. And 4.5 years later, to this day, he still says he won the election that he lost. And he signed an executive order last week trying to literally go after Chris Krebs, a white conservative MAGA dude who was given the charge in the first administration to review the elections. And he said, I reviewed the elections, one of the safest, cleanest elections of all time. He signed the executive order saying, I'm going to go after him to see whether or not he committed treason. So if you think I'm making all this up, folks, you haven't listened and paid attention. But Danielle, your take.
I mean, my take is this, is that, like, we have beyond reached the tipping point, and the 100th day of this administration is on Wednesday. In less than 100 days, Donald Trump has upended agencies, has fired hundreds of thousands of workers, has now arrested a judge, has deported 230 some odd men without due process, has picked up hundreds of students from off the street and detained them without due process, has threatened universities and colleges for not ending their DEI programs, has all but erased all of the economic gains from the last year within 3 months, and is not done. Right? Is not finished, and that is just in 90 some odd days. And so when you have law firms that are not only bending the knee, but breaking their backs and contorting themselves in order to provide billions of dollars worth of free fucking legal aid to this maniacal criminal, you now have a judge in federal custody, right, for doing their job. And we're supposed to take, again, the words of habitual liars about what it is that they feel were their grounds for arrest. You have a Supreme Court that gave this man knowingly, right, full and complete immunity, and then immunity for all of those who he wants to give a pocket pardon to. There is no end to this that ends with a free and fair election. There is no end to this that does not end, I am sorry to say, folks, with bloodshed. There is no end to this that is going to be nonviolent. And it is because they are ramping up They are just getting started.
Yep.
This is the first judge, but not the last. Then they are going to have, the media folks that they are going to throw in jail. Then they're to make an example of, folks. It was Fiona Hill, former CIA agent, recently was in an interview saying that this is exactly where we are as a country, is exactly why I had been warning about Donald Trump for the last decade.
Yeah.
Right? Saying how dangerous he was. She said that America right now is in jeopardy and
Yep.
they don't even know it.
Nope.
And that is what is most terrifying. And so, folks, I will say this. I'll pause for a second before we dive into Donald Trump is running for 2028. And before we look at what the fuck he's been doing in 2025, to say, if you have not yet subscribed to this channel, to please do subscribe. It costs you absolutely nothing. Like and share and comment to feed the algorithm fairies right now. And so I'm trying to hit 25,000. We hit 23,000 this week. 2,000 to go for the goal for the end of this spring. So right now, hit subscribe if you have not already. Like and comment and share. Okay. Waj. So Donald Trump says he's running in 2028. We just laid out all the ways that things are bad, but don't take our word for it. Maybe just look at the fucking poll numbers.
He is officially underwater as of today on everything. Especially look at the economy. It's the economy, stupid, right? That's the famous saying. He is double digits underwater in the economy, folks. That used to be one of his strong points. The one last remaining strong point for him was immigration. And there's just an article that came out today, a new poll where now a majority of Americans, came to the Washington Post. Let me get it for you. Majority of Americans now disapprove of Trump's handling of immigration, a change from earlier this year, post ABC Ipsos poll. 53% of Americans say they disapprove of Donald Trump's handling of immigration. Folks, that was his strong bastion. That's it, immigration. He's even lost that. It hasn't been 100 days. So this is the most unpopular president ever since the last unpopular president, which was Donald Trump from his first administration. He has the lowest rating, folks. And Danielle mentioned this, and I think it's worth reminding folks. He took what was a rebuilding, relatively robust economy compared to the world that is still emerging from COVID, and he tanked it in less than 100 days. So he says, I should be king, president, in 2028 because I'm doing so well. All right. Well, in the economy, Danielle, not doing so well.
Well, let's just take a look, right? Consumer sentiment is plunging, right? 60% now view U.S. economic policy negatively. 60% expect conditions to worsen. And just 25% believe their income will outpace inflation, marking the worst outlook in decades per University of Michigan data and FT analysis. And you can see the charts here. You can see when it was its lowest, when it was its height. Have a negative opinion was around the 90s. And then you had the early 2000s or around the bubble bursting. It is well above when we had the last major economic crisis.
So if you've noticed, we're going down in all the worst ways, and we're going up in all the worst ways. And folks, it's only been 3 months. All right. So Danielle, okay. We try to be fair. We try to bring the receipts. Hey, it's the economy. All right. Maybe it happens, right? Maybe it's inflation. Maybe it's, recovery from COVID. But Donald Trump said he'd be really strong. He'll be tough. He will be the international leader that the world respects. His trade war and his tariffs, guess what? China's gonna bend the knee. Tell me about the trade war and tariffs. Who's winning?
Boom. So according to the Wall Street Journal editorial board, quote, the harsh reality is that China called Mr. Trump's bluff and seems to have won this round. And by this round, I mean that they are, what did their ambassador say? The country's like 5,000 years old. This round or every round, because what I said is that playing a game of chicken with China is probably the stupidest fucking thing to do because they don't ever blink. But do you know who has blinked multiple times is Donald Trump. And most recently,
Wait, can you remind folks? Can you go back to that real quick, Danielle, if you don't mind? Who said that? Not us. That quote. Can you just tell people who said that? Oh, that flaming lefty Antifa rag, Wall Street Journal.
Yeah. Wall Street Journal. They came out and said very clearly and unequivocally, that Murdoch run paper and said, this is not great. So yeah. But also, what else happened this week is that the three major retailers, Home Depot, Target, Walmart, went to the White House. And they went to the White House because guess what? They wanted to make it very clear, paint the picture, because Donald Trump does very well with crayon and Sharpie drawings, to paint the picture of what his tariffs were going to do to their real life brick and mortar stores. And so I want to just play for you all what was said in this interview, because kind of, I don't know, important.
Look at this. We are also reporting today that a group of CEOs of the top American retailers, Walmart, Target, Home Depot, and Lowe's, had a private meeting with Trump on Monday. They had plenty to say, but there was one warning that stuck out. Empty shelves, they said. Empty shelves in American stores as soon as this summer because of Trump's actions.
What is that meeting in the Oval Office on Monday that we learned about, and other reporters did as well, that really apparently caught the president's attention? And I am told that business leaders, the Business Roundtable and others have been reaching out to White House Chief of Staff Susie Wiles and other advisors here, trying to get a meeting with the president, trying to convey to him in real terms the real fallout of some of this uncertainty, some of these tariff policies. And it was that empty shelves comment, we are told, that really caught the president's attention. Of course, you can see why. The whole idea that we would have an interruption in the supply chain, sort of like we all saw in the pandemic, simply because of his policies, is something that would be difficult for the White House to endure. So that is one of the reasons we are told that he changed his posture. It's interesting.
So I wanted your ears to perk up, Waj, because one of the things that he said, right, the reporter right there, was that we had not seen a supply chain breakdown since when? COVID. And why was there a supply chain breakdown? Because of a global health pandemic and the world shutting down.
Literally.
Donald Trump's policies, right? Policies, not a global health pandemic, would result in the same issues we had during the pandemic, all because he actually doesn't know how to run a fucking business.
Well, like, actually, Donald Trump is a global pandemic. Yeah, global. I mean, if you look at the record drops, they're like, this is the worst it's ever been since the summer of 2020, when we were locked down trying to figure out whether or not we would be alive because of COVID. Folks, Donald Trump is a man born on third base who thought he was born hitting a triple. He was born not with the silver spoon, but with the golden and silver spoon. He was given $400 million by his real estate tycoon racist father. He squandered that $400 million, not 4 million, 400. If Danielle and I had $4 million, you would never hear from us again. All right.
Never.
Danielle would be like on the beach, smoking, drinking like a Mai Tai. She would $400 million he squandered, declared bankruptcy 6 times, bankrupted 2 casinos, did not write Art of the Deal. It was ghostwritten. That gave him the veneer, the narrative, the bullshit story of being the master dealer, to the point where America and the global consciousness simply accepted it And Chris Columbus, the director of Home Alone and Home Alone 2, says he wished he could go back and edit out the scene of Donald Trump from where? Home Alone 2. Because who does Macaulay Culkin meet in New York? Donald Trump, right? That's how much this bullshit narrative was seeped into the consciousness of America. The John Wayne, the Gary Cooper, all actors, Donald Trump, an actor, Apprentice, right? The show, Mark Burnett, you have to thank Mark Burnett and Zucker for creating or resuscitating, we should say, Donald Trump for a new era, right? Because the old folks, they remember Art of the Deal and they're like, this dude was a loser. He got bankrupted, right? Yep. What a fraud. But then this new generation said, oh, Art of the Deal. Big man comes in, golden office, you're fired, lords over everyone. The producers, some of the producers working on that show said that Trump Tower, when they first came in to film, was a complete dump. They had to spend money to revamp Trump Tower and make it look like what? A studio. It was all a performance. And then America didn't get the performance. It got the real deal in Trump 1 during the pandemic. And Danielle, this mother effer, screwed Obama's economy, right? Tax cuts for the rich, nothing trickled down, lied to us during the pandemic. It was in the shitters. And then comes back 2024. And America's given a choice between this fraudster and a competent Black Indian American woman.
It's just such a hard choice. I don't feel like you've given enough paperwork, but I will say, Waj, under this administration, at least we have our health. Oh, just kidding. Just kidding.
Oh, so wait. So economy in the shitters. Foreign relations, foreign standing in the shitters. Danielle, at least he's making us healthy, right?
At least he's making us healthy. No, because the HHS secretary continues to spread very dangerous lies about autism, referring to it as a virus or a disease, which it is neither, saying that he is going to create a tracking system, which is what the, got it on the tip of my tongue, Nazis did, in order to rid their perfect Aryan nation of anybody that had any flaws. And
non-productive people, according to Elon Musk. Non-productive
right. And
people.
Also, well, he said, quote, these kids will never pay taxes. They'll never hold a job. They'll never play baseball. Let me tell you something. Former special education teacher here, all of that is bullshit and a lie. That is not true at all. Given the right interventions, given all of the skills, and guess what? It is a range like most things. None of what he is saying is true or grounded in fact. And on top of that, oh, guess what they now think is going to be endemic because of RFK Jr. and the push against vaccines. Any guesses, Waj?
Let me see. We have preventable diseases thanks to vaccines, things that used to kill people but no longer do. But since we have RFK, who is against vaccines and the worst people directing our health, let me guess, measles.
Yes, I was going to say it rhymes with measles, but you got it. Measles. And then on top of that, you would think, well, okay, so he's put the economy in the shitter. Our health is not doing so good, but at least he's doing something for the less fortunate. Bum, bum, bum. No, he's not doing that either. He's eliminated Head Start. He's laid off of all of the CDC employees who work on lead poisoning, discrediting childhood vaccines during a measles outbreak, cutting funds for school lunches. A look at some of the under the radar ways the Trump administration is waging war on America's children. So that's the unofficial war that's being waged. It is against America's children. So why in God's name does this man think that anyone would provide him with a third term? That's right, because he told you, if you vote for me this time, you'll never have to vote again.
Yep, he said it out loud.
And some of his constituents, his biggest fans, said, great. They said it on MSNBC when they were interviewed. I don't care. I don't need to vote. He is my guy. It doesn't matter. Oh, there's this too, Waj. Sorry, forgot about that piece. So
grift.
he's stealing from kids. He shut down agencies. The economy's in the shitter. People have lost their 401ks and their pension, but he's doing well. Do you want to tell them why he's doing well?
Meme coin, baby. One of the big scandals about the meme coin that was launched during the presidency, not just Trump's, but also Melania's, and how they seem to have manipulated the market and made hundreds of millions of dollars, and people bought it and got screwed. But now we have meme coin dinners, yo. We're going to have a pay for play. You buy that meme coin, you're a special invitee to the White House. So guess what? A lot of folks who want to butter up to Donald Trump. Remember what they did in the first administration? Foreign countries, they're like, oh, easy, quid pro quo, pay for play. All right, we'll just stay at a stupid resorts. We'll stay at a stupid hotels. That's what the Saudis did. And now, if you want to get the ear of Donald Trump, you want to pass some policies or some legislation, buy his meme coin, the most mother effing corrupt administration on earth.
But, you know, okay, so we've run through all of this, but, you know, Waj, at the very least, we are absolutely and completely, what's the word I wanted to use? Safe. Right? Like at least,
to the
at least there's
controversy
that.
around Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth. So as you said, according to two sources, we're learning that Hegseth used the Signal app on a personal computer in his office that was connected to the internet on an unsecured commercial line. What you mentioned is called a dirty line. And that was installed at Pete Hegseth's request so he could use the Signal app on his personal computer. So why is this important? Well, a commercial internet line does not have the firewall protections that the Department of Defense's unclassified system has, so that makes it potentially susceptible to being monitored, particularly if sensitive information is being communicated. Now, this, of course, comes after previous controversies of Hegseth sharing details about an imminent attack on Houthis in Yemen in a Signal chat group, him along with other members of Trump's National Security Council, and then new revelations more recently that there was a second chat group that Hegseth had been using with Signal that included his wife, his brother, and his personal lawyer. That's according to two sources familiar with the contents of the chat. They were telling ABC News this. So the controversy around Hegseth continues to mount huge questions about his use of the Signal app, which is not part of DoD protocol.
Lord
So we're
of
not
the kegs.
safe either.
Lord of the kegs finishes the Lord of the Keg trilogy in less than 100 days. The Signal Gate trilogy, folks, officially has a 1, 2, and 3. The first Signal Gate should be a national controversy and crisis that gets people fired, but nope, nobody got fired. There should be investigations, no investigations.
No.
It is allegedly a breach of law if you share confidential military information like Pete Hegseth did and like Mike Waltz did. No one got fired. Pete Hegseth lied about it. They were warned not to use Signal. The Pentagon warned them, don't use Signal. It's an unsecure app. And they invited Jeffrey Goldberg, an Atlantic editor. Hey, come on down and get these Yemen war plans. And then it was just about a week ago, last weekend actually, we had the sequel to Signal, right? Oh, he did this again. He brought on his wife. Awesome. And now we got the ender of the trilogy where he wants a dirty line and Signal uploaded to his computer in the White House. This is why you do not hire DUI hires. This is why we have DEI hires. This is the least qualified man who made it his mission to purge DEI from the military, saying we're going to have merit, the best of the best, let go of one of the most qualified Joint Chief of Staff because he was a black man, folks. The last Secretary of Defense, Lloyd Austin, under Obama, was an O10 four-star general, meticulous, clean, professional Secretary of Defense. And this drunkard, this alleged rapist, this friggin' Lord of the Keg is now compromising our security because this is how stupid and self-destructive white supremacy has always been. And nothing has happened to him. And Fox keeps running interference for their former colleague because, oh, yes, Danielle, he was a Fox host for 10 years before becoming Secretary of Defense.
I want to say this. At least there are Democrats who are getting prepared to fight, particularly ones that are put in charge of drawing up a plan to fight. Oh, no, that's right. She's a fucking idiot, too.
Tell us about Slotkin. Tell us about Michigan Slotkin.
Slotkin, the former CIA analyst turned battleground senator, who, if you remember, she gave the response to the joint address that Donald Trump delivered. It was a snooze fest. Will on Thursday start road testing. Get this, what she calls a quote war plan, and so I was interested. I'm like, all right, they're taking this seriously. This is a war plan to contain and defeat Donald Trump. I was like, okay, yes, we got this. Great, I'm on board. In the first of a series of speeches about the Democratic Party's path out of the wilderness, the Michigan senator said she will span everything from strategies to tactics. Let's go. Around tone, acknowledging public perception of the party as, quote, weak and woke. Needs
It gets worse.
Change.
It gets worse.
Yep. She is urging Democrats to, quote, fucking retake the flag, with appeals to voters' sense of patriotism, to adopt the goddamn alpha energy of the Detroit Lions coach, Dan Campbell, and to embrace a, quote, airing out of potential 2028 presidential candidates. For the love of fucking God. Really?
You know, Charlotte Clymer had a good tweet yesterday where she's like, you know, if you give Elise Slotkin a pencil and a pad in 2 hours alone in a room and ask her to define woke, she would not be able to do it, right? You have Democrats like Slotkin, like Carville, like Rahm Emanuel. Notice a lot of middle-aged, really wealthy white folks who are using bad faith Republican talking points to attack their own base. And when they say woke, you know what they mean? The blacks, black, brown, LGBTQ, immigrants, young progressives. You know, their base. That's what they mean when they say woke, DEI. When they're saying DEI and woke, some of the more racist ones, they're not saying black, they're saying the N-word. And so what does she do? A Democrat uses the bad faith attack points of Republicans to attack and weaken her own base. This is what Democrats do, the centrists. They are willing to throw their own base under the bus to attract a white voter base that for 10 years has not gone towards them, has the MAGA hat sitting there in a Rust Belt cafe drinking friggin' shitty coffee. And they think that if they just kiss their butt just enough, that maybe this time in 2026 and 2028, they'll come to them. Didn't work in the 2024 election when in the second half of Kamala Harris's campaign, she took the advice of these corporate consultants and decided to bear hug Republicans at the expense of their base. So we are supposed to listen to Slotkin and not, you know, everybody else who's saying, for the love of God, stand up to these mother effers. And this was the person, good memory, Danielle, who they decided to have the rebuttal to Trump's whatever that was, State of the Union. This is who they chose.
I mean, it's just like, read the fucking room. And so I bring up Slotkin because, again, this is because Democrats, anytime that they lose an election, their desired response is to run all the way to the right. And what do we continue to say on this show and on any show, which is that because Republicans have taken the right off of a cliff, the centrist Democrats are pretty much just Romney and McCain Republicans at this point. So to sit there and talk about the weak and the woke and use an F-bomb and think that like that somehow is going to, what is the patriotism we're conjuring here?
Yeah.
Right? This like make America white again, like that's what we're doing. So, you know, I say this, but there are actual Democrats who are doing things, and we name them all the time on this show. Tell them what Pritzker is up to, Waj.
You know what? I'm glad a Democrat finally did this. We give credit where credit's due. Governor of Illinois is a billionaire, but Pritzker said, "Oh, okay. So you want to kidnap legal immigrants and send them to die in a foreign gulag? Sure. We're gonna pretty much do a buyout and defund investments in El Salvador. That's right. We're gonna review any investments in companies controlled by El Salvador." And we are going to pretty much boycott you because you, Bukele, are working with Donald Trump to eliminate our due process and send legal immigrants to die in a foreign gulag. He hit them square in the effing mouth. And if there is a recurring theme today, you have noticed violation of human rights, people don't care. Taking away women's rights, people don't care. Kidnapping immigrants, people don't care. What do they care about? When it hurts their bottom line. In God we trust. What color trumps the color white in America? The color green. And Pritzker knows it, and he went after the color green in El Salvador. And you better believe Bukele, this techno bro, he loves his money. So imagine now if other states start doing this. And why did Pritzker do this, folks? Let's connect the dots real quick.
Mm-hmm.
Van Hollen, Senator Van Hollen, went by himself. He took a major risk, went to El Salvador last week. Said, I'm not going to leave until I get proof of life of Kilmar Garcia, the Maryland man who was kidnapped and abducted, sent due to an administrative error, ICE's words, but this Trump administration, being as cruel as it is, refused to bring him back. Van Hollen went. He stayed there, put pressure, was on the news. He got the meeting with Kilmar Garcia. Van Hollen's stock rose. Ed Markey took other Democrats and went and visited these pro-Palestinian students who were detained without due process, Mahmoud Khalil and Rameza Ostrich in Louisiana. Their stock rose. Pritzker is like, oh, courage is contagious. Oh, he didn't get a backlash. Oh, it seems people actually responding. Let me do this. And I will remind everyone that as of today, when it comes to immigration, oh, you know, Democrats don't talk about immigration. Remember, Danielle? Oh, that's Donald Trump's strong point. Oh, let's vote for the Laken Riley Act. Oh, let's give them 40 plus Democratic votes to vote for the Laken Riley Act to go after undocumented immigrants who are simply charged with nonviolent offenses. That's how this all started in the first month, folks. Guess what? Once you attack and fight and put it in the news, his favorability rating on immigration, where'd it go, Danielle?
Up.
And no, I mean, when it came to down, when it up and now thanks to Van Hollen and Bukele, down. Because Americans are like, why the hell are you kidnapping legal immigrants? That's what happens when you fight, folks. When you message, you win over the majority and you have it in real time. And then you have this useless piece of crap, Slotkin. Pardon my language. She is useless. And you know, Daniel, real quick, you know when people say, oh, she's from Michigan, she's from Michigan. Tim Walz is from Minnesota. All right. Friggin' white, rural, a lot of Rust Belt folks, Minnesota, super progressive, sells it. People get those policies. They like him. One of the most progressive states, even though it's right there, right? And you have a lot of white folks and a lot of like old school blue collar Democrats, and he champions it and he messages it. You need fighters. Sorry for my rant. Continue.
No, and like speaking of fighters, right? Because again, we call out what needs to be called out. We lift up people when they need to be lifted up. So we are absolutely gonna call out Slotkin for her bullshit, right? For her centrist shit. And then we're going to lift up people who are actually doing the work. So again, here is Maxwell Frost, right? He is the youngest elected member of Congress. He was just at Coachella with Bernie Sanders on stage with him. He's been going to Stop the Oligarch events and holding his own. And this is what he has said most recently.
This isn't about Democrats versus Republicans. It's about the people versus the problem. Donald Trump is the problem. Elon Musk is the problem. And if you're here and you voted for Trump in the past, my message is simple. I'm sorry you were lied to, but welcome to the team. Welcome to the team.
That is what you do to inspire people to fight. That's what you say. You don't go out and say, "Oh, let me go ahead and contort my values, right, in order to meet MAGA people where they are." It's saying, "No, I'm going to go to where the MAGA people are who have been harmed and say, if you decide now you want to be here with us, welcome." Right? But like, this is what we're doing. We are about fighting against the problem, and the problem is Donald Trump, not us, the people, right? Fighting against Black, white, Asian, Latino, gay, trans. Like, that is just fighting with each other and getting and keeping the crumbs that are left over by the oligarchs. It's time, like, people understand that. And so, Slotkin, this is why people are leaving the Democratic Party. This is why you have folks that are showing up in mass to hear Bernie Sanders, to hear AOC, to hear Tim Walz, because they are tired of the same old, same old. They are tired of the bullshit. And the way that you win over America is not modeling yourself off of a failing politician whose poll numbers are worse now than they were his first term. He's the only one. He's beating himself at being the worst.
literally. And also Maxwell Frost, it's smart politics, folks. Like we talked about before, I know there's a desire to crush, but capturing and converting is smarter politics. You want to expand the tent. So Maxwell Frost, he fights, he promotes the better message. It's the 1% versus the 99%. It's the oligarchy against us. It's the billionaires against the rest of us, dividing us. And listen, if you were fool enough to vote for Donald Trump, okay, you got played. Now join the right team. You expand the ranks, right? Capture and convert. I know it's tough because a part of us is like, man, these are the worst people. And some of them are terrible people. But like I've said before, and I'll say it again, I'm not a sociopath. I do not need people to suffer in order to feel great again. Me and Danielle do not need you or want you to suffer to feel great again. Despite what we say on this show, and we keep it real, we want you and your kids to have healthcare. We want them to have economic opportunities. We want them to have a better future. This is why our parents who are immigrants came to this country, right? To hope, to dream. And I want that for all the kids, even the MAGA kids. That's right. I do not need you or want you to suffer in order to feel great again, but they need me to suffer in order to feel, not feel great again. And I hope in this moment of pain and collective suffering, they are humbled. And they realize, you know what? We got played. And you know what? There's something better than pettiness and vengeance and rage. Oh, yeah, the communal spirit, empathy, uplifting everyone. Oh, yeah, you know what? I might not agree with the woke, but that's okay. Onto you, your way, onto me, mine. All of us get lifted up together. So if this is what it takes, this pain is what it takes for them to learn, so be it. We tried to warn you. We did our best. You didn't listen. Now we're all in it. Come to the right side. Let's go against this fascist mother effer. And one thing, I let me just backtrack real quick, Danielle. I just want to say this because you said you're a special ed teacher, and this week, we talked about a lot on the show. I know we're running up the clock, but just give me a minute. RFK also wants a registry for autistic people. Registry. Nazis did that, and folks, speaking about the vaccines, they're also trying to threaten to cut free vaccine programs for kids amid measles outbreaks. Real quick, this is important. I have family members who are autistic, and I have friends who kids are autistic, right? If they did not get the special ed teachers like Danielle, if they did not get the training, if they did not get experts who helped them, understood them, and gave them behavioral tools, they would not be as successful as they are right now. There was one friend of mine that, they told her, my friend's daughter, they told her she'll never be able to read. Published poet, published author of books, a teacher. All right. Another friend of mine, they said this guy can't speak. He couldn't take social cues. I see him now. He's 8 years old. The kid's doing great. Yes, he's autistic, but he goes, he hugs, he's not freaked out by noises. He's doing really well. So this is what happens. You don't give up on the non-productive people. You invest in them. You help them. You take care of them, right? And lo and behold, yes, these non-productive people that we throw to the side, they're our loved ones, and they end up having great lives. They might even save your life. So I just had to say that as this straight up eugenics regime
'cause
is
that's
trying
what it
to
is.
eliminate anyone who's non-productive.
That's what it is. That is what it is. And I'm so glad that you ran it back to talk about it, because that's what is happening. And the autism community is fighting back. And for those, whether or not you know somebody on the spectrum doesn't even matter. It's like, what will be next, right? So today it's people who are labeled as autistic. What is it tomorrow? People that have depression, people that are bipolar, people that have like other issues that are deemed, not good, not productive, not of value. What happens next? So there is always a next, right?
Old people,
Yeah. So
disabled people.
correct. So Waj, before we get out of here, I want to give you an opportunity to plug your Substack, to plug all the fantastic interviews that you have been having, and tell people about the Left Hook.
We are theLeftHook.substack.com, the Left Hook. Danielle. So as we always say, Danielle and I are not idiots, but we are fools. There's no paywalls. We kept everything for free. Some fantastic conversations this week. And then I had Joy Reid yesterday. She was dropping truth bombs. I'm not just go listen to my conversation with Joy. She was on it yesterday. But Joy, also like us, has no paywalls. But she said she has kept her comments paywalled, because if you troll her, you have to pay to troll her. So then my dad and mom heard that, and they're like, "Beta, at least make your comments paywalled." Tell Danielle. I'm like, I don't know. So there's no paywalls. You pay what you can. It's the lefthook.substack.com. I also co-host America Unhinged with Francesca Fiorentini, and we here are at Democracy-ish, Monday and Friday, 12 p.m. Eastern time. And I think Danielle and I, you all enjoyed the Substack Live I did with Danielle last week. So we're thinking about doing a midweek check-in, maybe Tuesday or Thursday, maybe Tuesday. I think it'll go over really well because there's so much news. Danielle, can you please shamelessly promote yourself and please tell them why it's such a big deal that you're at 23.1 thousand subscribers and what you get when you get to 25,000?
Yeah. So thank you, Waj. And yes, everybody run over and subscribe to the Left Hook. So here, look, I've been building this YouTube channel from the bottom up. Many of you were here when I had 100 followers, when I had 1,000 followers, and now we are at 23.1. Basically here on the Danielle Moodie channel, trying to build up Damnation, to give us a place and space where we can be in conversation, where you can get the news that you deserve, where we can think about ways that we can fight back, organizations that we can donate to, introduce you to causes that matter, right? Create a place where we can feel less hopeless and united in our power and our purpose. So that is the point of this channel. And look, I am trying to get to 25,000 because the more subscribers, the more opportunity to spread message, the bigger our movement we can build, and the bigger, the bigger the platform, the bigger the push that we can get this regime out of here.
And also, just want to thank all the people. Tina, thank you.
Yes.
Becky, thank you. D20, that's awesome. Demeritus, thank you. JG, coming in from the foreign countries. I love it. Barb, thank you all. It all goes a long way. All the super chatters. This is, I'll say this again. Everyone thinks we fancy. We ain't fancy.
We are not fancy.
I like Danielle's keep looking back because the dog is there. My cats are at the door. This is true independent media, and I hope if you've tuned in for the first time, we try to be fair here, folks. We don't bend the knee to Democrats. We don't bend the knee to Republicans. We praise people who deserve it. We criticize people so they can do better. And we've built this community from scratch. So thank you all who have given the $1, the $2, the $3, the $5. It literally goes such a long way. And if you haven't, again, please, please, please subscribe to Danielle's show. Click that bell, because there's, like she said, there's markers. 15,000, 25,000, 50,000. And then what I've seen, even with the Left Hook, Danielle, in the past 2 weeks, like you get to like a tipping point and then kind of just goes like that. So it's great.
And it's, and again, this is what we do for a living. This is how we keep the lights on. This is how Waj feeds his children.
My
This is
800
how
kids.
this is how we do this. So if you also my Substack, the Damn Digest, if you have not subscribed to it, please consider subscribing to the Damn Digest. If you're looking to be a monthly, right? If you're trying to say, I want to give more than just a super chat and a super sticker, a one-off, and I want to give monthly, head over to the Damn Digest, to the Left Hook. We have tiers that are available there as well. And consider becoming a paid subscriber. It goes a long way in these times, folks, when we are being attacked, when journalism is being attacked, when free speech is being attacked, when judges are being picked off up the street. This allows us to keep going. So we appreciate you all. We will be back here on Monday. And if you would like Waj and I to do a midweek check-in on, say, like a Tuesday on Substack, do let us know in the comments if you would be interested in that, because I did enjoy it.
We used to do this show. We've been doing the YouTube version for 6 months, and we did it once a week. And then I remember Danielle was like, "Hey, do you guys want us to do it twice a week?" And we literally had no idea. Everyone was like, "Yes." So we're like, all right. So you please do let us know. We listen to you. We try to read all the comments while we're doing the live show. It's just me and Danielle producing, and editing. So
Yes.
if we don't get to you, don't feel offended. We're just, we're literally doing the show and then trying our best to read the comments. So, people are saying yes, midweek, yes,
That's
okay,
midweek, yes, okay, all
right.
right. So
Great.
We'll try it out. We'll let you know for certain on Monday when you're back here at 12 p.m. Eastern for Democracy-ish. We will announce what day we are doing our Substack. So we appreciate you all. Thank you for listening to Democracy-ish. I'm Danielle Moodie.
And I'm Wajahat with cats and 800 kids.
And we will be back on Monday, 12 p.m. Eastern. We wish you a healthy, happy, and safe weekend. Take care of yourselves, and we will see you soon.